My name is Vicki Rezzardini. I live in Ridgecrest, California in the Mojave Desert, very near to Death Valley. My niece, my great niece, is Riley Condon, and she is a great niece. You guys know her. She's smart, she's funny, she's so cute. Anyway, when she asked me to do this, I thought, oh my God, I have to put on a lot of makeup. I have to get outfits. I have to dress up. But instead I sat down and I have my t-shirt on and I've been working today. So I'm a realtor, but I mainly flip houses and I do about 20 a year. I work with my stepdaughter. She's 30 years younger than I am. We have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot. I have 3 grandkids from the ages of 8 to 12. They're very fun, very active, and I have a great life.
As you can see, my aunt is a fun, funny, and amazing person, so she had a lot of great stories to share with me.
Okay, a story about courage requires a hat. When I was about 25, I wanted to go skydiving. This was before tandem jumping. When you skydived, you did it by yourself. You had 12 hours of training beforehand. When I went up in the airplane, the airport was about that small. And it hit me all of a sudden that I was jumping out of a plane and I didn't have to do it. And that moment took courage.
One of the things that struck me the most was hearing that my aunt was stuck to the plane at one point. This act of courage instantly reminded me of when Pharaoh's daughter took Moses from the Nile River. She chose to pick up Moses even though she knew she may be killed immediately because she had a longing to follow her passion, whether it was going against her father's decree or caring for the child. Similarly, my aunt was ready to face any consequences. She never planned to be stuck up there for so long, and yet the moment she had to finish the jump, which she had worked so hard towards, she took it with courage.
The second time I was courageous was actually later. I was 8 months pregnant. I was about 31 years old. I came out of a building at night, the door locked behind me. I was heading to a parking lot. I looked over in the street and there were 2 young men beating up a very old man, beating and kicking him. When I saw one of them raise the knife, I screamed, "No!" And then I screamed it a few more times. They stopped. I ran. I was safe, called the cops. The man went to the hospital.
This story reminds me of Pua and Shipra. Pua and Shipra were commanded by the Pharaoh to carry out his decree to kill the Israelite baby boys. However, they could not live with the idea of actually carrying this out, and continued to lie and deceive Pharaoh so he would not know they didn't do it. This is very similar to my aunt, as both scenarios deal with stepping in to save the lives of those they knew were being hurt. Thus, when my aunt stepped in to get help and help get that man to the hospital, she very well might have been there just in time to save his life.
When I was a teenager, I lived in Detroit, Michigan. They didn't have high school track for females, so I ran on a city team. It was called Motor City Track Club. I don't think it exists any longer. It was very, very fast, but what that took was a lot of drive and persistence. I worked out 7 days a week. I worked out hard. I ran everywhere. I loved it. I worked with an amazing bunch of girls, and it was a lot of fun.
In the Bible, Esther shows a lot of strength and persistence as she enters King Ahasuerus' harem. She does become his wife in the end, and she uses her rule to better the lives of the Jewish community by saving them from destruction. I found this story to be very similar to my aunt because both used what was seen as a setback, either being Jewish or being female, to their advantage. They worked hard to succeed, and just as Esther lived a life that impacted the Jewish community, my aunt also lived out her life, loving and working hard at running, which impacted the other women.
One of the best things about life are friends, and I think a payment for living is friendship, and it's also love. That's what we get out of it if we're lucky. I've had a lot of great friends. One that I developed as I got older is my older sister, Sue. This is Riley's grandma. And she's 4 years older than me, and I can't say that growing up we got along. Oh no, we didn't get along at all. And I thought that would be that way forever, but it wasn't. I don't know when we started being friends, but we were adults, and we have a great time together. She makes me laugh. We both know the same old stories. I've learned things from her. She's got a great family. I get to hang out with them. I go on summer vacations with them, and I'm really, really glad about my friendship with my sister. It's a payment for living.
Their stories together instantly reminded me of Ruth and Naomi, even though they aren't sisters. It was hard for Ruth to have to travel away from her home to be with Naomi, just as it can be for my aunt to travel here, especially when her husband isn't doing well. Naomi also comforted Ruth in her travels because when she got there, Ruth was accepted. Similarly, my aunt experiences this because it can be hard for her to travel all the way from California, but my grandma is really the one who makes it possible. She and my aunt share a strong connection now because my grandma has really made her feel like part of the family.
Some years ago, I looked around our town, which is like so many other towns, and I saw a lot of people on drugs. And so I decided that I would try to do something to help. And I've never done anything like that before, but I got a lot of free booklets from a place called Drug Free World, and I set up a table and I had a banner and I passed them out. Grandparents went over them with grandkids, and some parents went over them with their kids, and some people told me stories of how it changed their lives.
Her story reminds me a lot of the Venerable Catherine Macaulay. Catherine definitely endured a hard life, but when she was left with lots of money and a large home, she decided that it would be best not to keep it all for herself, but to use the resources she had to give to those in need. Similarly, my aunt used the resources she had, like all those pamphlets and information she came across, in order to benefit others in her community so drug use may stop. This is really powerful because my aunt got to see the positive impact she made on her community, as so many people even went back to tell her how the information had changed their lives for the better.
The second story is that while doing drug-free world activities, I decided in our town that I wanted to get all the ministers involved. We're a small town, but we have 37 ministers. That includes some youth ministers. I set up something with the Board of Supervisors to come to our area and talk with these ministers, with the police chief and the mayor, to get 37 ministers in a room. These are diverse religions. They do not agree with each other. I pulled it off. We had a plan.
Comparison that came to my mind is one with Mary Magdala or Mary Magdalene. Mary was a very close disciple and friend of Jesus's, but she did face the challenge of being a woman because oftentimes the apostles or others did not believe that Jesus would go to her first. Yet despite that challenge, Mary turned out to be an extremely pivotal and important leader for the church. I found this similar to my aunt because she too faced a big challenge when trying to get all the ministers to agree. This was a hard task for her because they were all from different religions and backgrounds, but she saw how important it would be to the community, and in the end, they were on board, and my aunt turned out to be a very strong leader and role model, just as Mary Magdalene was. Overall, my great aunt Vicki is an amazing woman. She has always been so courageous, so kind, and a major role model for so many people, including myself. I always knew my aunt was an amazing person, but never knew all these details about the stories she shared with me until now. My aunt has taught me a lot about the importance of being a sister, and it is really special to see the bond she shares with my grandma. I know my aunt will continue to inspire me throughout my whole life as she has encouraged me to be a leader in my own ways by impacting my community and others wherever I can.